Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive. This time, we're cracking open The Millionaire Next Door to see what we can learn.
Such a classic. I'm excited to dive in.
Me too. So this book kind of blew people's minds when it came out, right? Like, it totally changed how we think about millionaires.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. It challenged all those assumptions we had,
Yeah.
about like what a millionaire looks like and how they live and all that.
Right. Not all, like, private jets and mansions, right?
Nope. Not at all, actually. The book actually finds that most millionaires are super frugal.
Huh. Really?
Yeah, like they live way below their means. They're all about that long-term financial security. They don't care about flashing their cash around.
So it's more about being smart with your money
Yeah,
than just making a ton of it.
you got it. And another thing, most millionaires, they're self-made. First generation wealthy.
So it's not all inheritance?
Nope. These folks built their fortunes through hard work and smart investing. Being disciplined with their finances.
That's kind of inspiring, right? Like,
Yeah.
it means anyone can achieve financial success.
Exactly. It's not just for like the elite or whatever.
So what's the secret sauce? How do they do it?
Well, the book lays out like 7 common factors that contribute to building wealth.
Okay, like what?
Well, one of the biggest ones is planning and budgeting. Having a plan, sticking to it.
You mean like not just for the month, but like a long-term vision?
Yeah, exactly. Thinking about retirement, about investments, even how you're going to pass on wealth to your kids.
And this book has some pretty interesting ideas about that too.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
One of the most fascinating things in the book is this comparison they make between what they call PAWs and UAWs.
PAWs and UAWs, what are those?
So PAWS stands for Prodigious Accumulator of Wealth, and UAW is an underaccumulator of wealth. It's all about how much wealth you build compared to how much you earn.
So like you could have two people making the same amount of money, but one ends up way wealthier.
Exactly. That's what the book is saying.
Yeah.
And it all comes down to how you manage your money, how you spend it, how you invest it.
They use this example in the book, right? About like a Dr. North and a Dr. South.
Yeah, those are the guys. They're both doctors, successful, similar incomes, families, the whole 9 yards, but financially they're in totally different places.
Because of their spending habits.
You got it. Dr. North, he's the paw. He lives frugally, invests wisely, thinking long term. Dr. South, he's the UAW, always trying to keep up with the Joneses, spending more than he should.
So it's not just about how much you make, but how you handle it,
Exactly. And that's where the book's insights on financial discipline are so valuable.
as you think, huh? So what else did you find interesting in this book?
Well, there's this concept they talk about called economic outpatient care, EOC for short.
EOC, what's that?
It's basically when parents give financial support to their adult children.
Okay, sure. Lots of parents do that. What's so special about that?
Well, the book argues that sometimes, with the best intentions, this EOC can actually have some negative consequences.
Really? How so?
Well, think about it. If parents are constantly bailing their kids out or, funding their lifestyle instead of their investments or their education, it can actually make them less financially independent.
Oh, I see what you mean. Instead of helping them, it could be holding them back.
Right. If EOC is mostly going toward buying stuff instead of building wealth, then it's not really helping in the long run. It's not teaching them those important habits we were talking about.
That's a really good point. It's making me think about how I approach financial help within my own family.
Yeah, it's something to think about for sure.
Yeah.
So what's the alternative then?
Yeah, if you shouldn't just give your kids money, what should you do?
Well, the book suggests that the best way to support your children financially is to lead by example. Show them what responsible financial behavior looks like. Teach them the value of saving, investing, working hard.
Right. It's like that saying, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day, teach a man to fish.
Exactly. Empower them to be financially independent.
This whole EOC thing is definitely something I'm going to have to think about more.
Yeah.
What else did you find surprising in The Millionaire Next Door?
Well, one thing that really stood out to me was their advice on choosing financial advisors. They have a really unique approach. So they actually recommend that you should look for advisors who've actually built significant wealth themselves.
So like they've walked the walk,
Yeah,
not just talk the talk.
exactly. They know what it takes firsthand. The book even suggests asking potential advisors to share their own personal financial statements.
Whoa, really? That's pretty bold.
It is, but it makes sense. You want to know they're aligned with your values. You want to see their track record.
Yeah, you want to know they're actually good with money themselves.
Right. And speaking of practical advice, they also emphasize getting guidance from CPAs, certified public accountants.
CPAs.
Yeah.
Why CPAs? What do they have to do with building wealth?
Well, they often have like a bigger picture view of your finances. They're not just focused on investments, they're thinking about taxes, estate planning, all that stuff.
Right. I guess that's important too.
It is. It's super important for preserving and growing your wealth. It's like having a financial quarterback who can help you see the whole field.
Okay, that makes sense. So shifting gears a bit, one of the things that really surprised me in this book was how much they talk about ancestry, like your family history.
Yeah. Isn't that fascinating?
Totally. I never thought about that being connected to wealth.
Right. But the authors found that certain ancestry groups, like people of Scottish descent, they have way more millionaires than you'd expect based on, how many there are in the general population.
So you're saying it's not just about individual effort, like there's a cultural component too?
Exactly. Some cultures just place a higher value on things like frugality, hard work, long-term planning.
Hmm. So it's like our financial habits are shaped not just by what we choose, but also by like the values we inherit.
Right. It's kind of a mix of nature and nurture, isn't it?
It really makes you think, okay, so if that's true, how do we raise our kids to be financially savvy?
Well, the book really stresses the importance of leading by example. Kids learn way more from what they see us do than from what we tell them to do.
Right. So if we're constantly like, racking up credit card debt and buying stuff we don't need, they're going to pick up on that.
Exactly. But if they see us being responsible, saving, planning, budgeting, they're more likely to follow suit.
So it's not just about giving them lectures on money, it's about actually modeling good behavior.
Yeah. And it's also about talking to them about money, having open conversations about it, explaining why saving is important, how investing works, all that stuff.
Giving them the tools they need to make good decisions.
Yeah.
Speaking of good decisions, this book has this whole concept of strengthening the strong.
Oh, yeah, that's an interesting one. It's a bit controversial, too.
Yeah, what's that all about?
Yeah.
I don't think we've talked about that one yet.
So basically, it's the idea that in some wealthy families, the child who's already the most financially responsible, the one who's doing really well, they might actually get a smaller inheritance than the siblings who are, not doing as well.
Wait, really? Why would you do that?
Well, the thinking is that the kids who are already successful, they don't need the extra help. And the ones who are struggling, they might need more of a safety net.
I guess that makes sense in a way, but it also seems kind of unfair.
Yeah, it's definitely a complex issue. It kind of highlights the challenges that parents face when trying to figure out how to, be fair and help their kids.
Right. It's like you want to help them, but you don't want to enable them.
Yeah.
You want them to learn to stand on their own 2 feet.
Exactly. So, the book focuses a lot on like the practical side of money, but it also delves into the emotional and psychological aspects of wealth, which I found really interesting.
Oh, yeah. Like what kind of stuff?
Well, one of the things they observed is that PAWS, those prodigious accumulators of wealth, they actually get a lot of satisfaction and fulfillment from the process of building wealth. Not just from the money itself, but from the journey.
So it's not just about the destination, it's about the journey.
Yeah, like the discipline, the hard work, the sense of accomplishment.
That makes sense. Like if you're just chasing money for the sake of money, you're probably never going to be truly happy, right?
Right. It's like you got to have a purpose, a goal, something that drives you. And it's interesting because they found that UAWs, those under accumulators of wealth, they often seek validation through stuff. Like they're trying to keep up appearances, buy fancy cars, big houses.
So it's like one group is intrinsically motivated, they're driven by a sense of purpose and accomplishment, and the other group is extrinsically motivated, they're looking for external validation.
You got it. And that makes a huge difference in how they manage their money and ultimately how much wealth they build.
It's like your mindset really matters. So for our listeners who are thinking about working with affluent clients, this book has some really good advice.
Yeah, it does. It talks about how to effectively target that market, the millionaire next door market.
So how do you reach these people? They don't seem like the type to be swayed by flashy advertising or, the typical marketing tactics.
Right, exactly. You have to understand what makes them tick, what their values are. They're frugal, but they're not cheap. They're willing to invest in things that align with their goals.
So things that add real value to their lives.
Exactly. Think about like high quality education for their kids or grandkids, or specialized financial advice, estate planning, maybe real estate opportunities that offer good long-term returns.
So it's not about selling them on luxury or status symbols. It's about offering them solutions.
You got it. Expertise, trust. a relationship that feels more like a partnership than just a transaction.
I see. So you got to build that connection, understand their priorities.
Precisely. And there's a big opportunity there for businesses and professionals who get it. Financial advisors, estate planning attorneys, educational institutions, even things like high-end travel planning or home management services.
Wow, so it's a pretty diverse market, actually.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And as we wrap up our deep dive into The Millionaire Next Door, I want to leave you with this thought. The book focuses a lot on financial wealth right now. But what if true wealth is about more than just money?
You mean like living a rich life even if you're not a millionaire?
Exactly. What if it's about having the freedom to pursue your passions, the time to spend with your loved ones, the chance to make a difference in the world?
It's about more than just your net worth. It's about your values, your purpose.
Exactly. So as you think about all the insights from The Millionaire Next Door, consider this. Maybe the real takeaway isn't just about accumulating wealth. Maybe it's about figuring out what true wealth means to you and building a life that reflects that.
That's a great point. It's not just about the money, it's about what you do with it. It's about living a life that's meaningful and fulfilling.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, that about wraps up our deep dive into The Millionaire Next Door. Hopefully you all learned something new and maybe even got inspired to rethink your own definition of wealth.
Thanks for having me. This was a great conversation.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep diving deep.